everyone, Chantal here again, demonstrating Amara Vidya flow. So one of the meat of our flow practice is borrowed heavily from the Dassaka Krishnamacharya tradition, specifically passed down and taught through Shiva Ray and then Maria Gar. I did an intensive workshop with Maria Gar a number of years ago, and it has heavily influenced my Vinyasa flow practices. So one thing that the Mandala flow, which is heavily credited to Shiva Ray, the limitation in it is that it isn't always accessible for people who have limited mobility. So I had a really interesting client about a year or so ago now, maybe a little more. They had limited mobility, but they had incredible upper body strength. And some of the things that they wanted to do invited them to have that more creative focus, the kind that a vinyasa can actually generate in someone, that meditation in motion, that meditation in movement. My assistant here has decided to play with Spider-Man and some of the malas we are going to use later on. We will get there. But what I wanted to do is show you the setup that I ended up creating. If you can see, there's two chairs, and this chair represents his wheelchair. Okay, so I've also bound my legs to demonstrate limited mobility. So in a Mandala flow, you want to have a 4-part section, to create a traveling around the mat in sort of a 360-degree so to make it look like kind of a circle. And the idea is that you start with very basic movements and then graduate it to more and more complex movements, so that if you're in a mixed group setting, you can start and stay at the basic movements. So those who are already challenged don't feel that they have to continue on and get more complex. And those who have done enough practice and are able, it's within their abilities to follow along with the more extreme, more complex poses can. Now, how to achieve 360 degrees in chairs. I hope this can show where I'm going with this. I think I might put this on the floor, or at least significantly low down so you can see there. Hopefully that gives you an idea. All right. So how to actually get somebody who has limited mobility into a flow, to be able to also incorporate our Amara Vidya 3 planes of movement. So I'm going to start demonstrating this chair, and if you're the teacher, actually you would be providing some support by standing behind the chair so they can actually do this. You would coach them through this a couple of times. All right? So this is essentially child's pose that they would start in. Okay? And then hands pressed firmly down onto the chair, and they can lengthen their spines and rise up and flow down. Very basic. Just looking a little bit forward and down. So we're just doing flexion and extension of the spine. Inhale, exhale. And they can push into their hands and come up. Build strength, drawing the shoulders back and down, feeling the arm bones and the arm bone sockets. And they can actually do modified cat-cow from here. Place one hand in the center, and they can twist to look up. Rotation. You do that several times, offering the heart toward the side wall, twisting into the opposite direction. This is where it gets wonderfully tricky. So it's really nice for that grip. So see how it's wobbly for me because I don't have a spotter. But to be able to lean and rely on the chair and pull up. Now it's a lot easier because I have use of my legs. But for those who actually can't feel their legs or use it, they tend to, move their legs to an area that they know will actually support them. It takes practice with them. Those who, suffer from MS or are paraplegic, they will actually know how to actually help themselves up, and they use their upper body strength to lift up and lengthen. Now, for those who might just have a little bit of chronic pain, they may be able to press into their feet and lengthen out through there, and that's fine. But you're heavily reliant on leaning into the chair if you actually are failing in having that lower body strength and ability. Whoop, see, cheating! All right. So, you can do a variety of things here, but what I want to show is that actually transferring can be really difficult for someone. So they rely heavily. Now, when I lose some strength in my legs, I have to spot a little bit, and you can actually grab a hold of the person's hips if they allow you, if they have permission. I'm just trying to demonstrate evidence. You can turn around when it's super close. And this gives that mandala feeling, this idea that now they've transferred over. So then they can go back into child's, and they can slide extension, come up, rounding, okay, hand, twisting. It still has that same mandala flow experience. You can become more complex. There's side bends that you can have. You can do warrior stances. You can do triangle stances. And then you can actually bring it in. And the idea, which will actually create a lot of heat for someone who is, reliant on staying on the seat, is that if you actually, if they can and they want to, be able to sort of move back and forward, their wheelchair is actually a lot more sturdier than the chair you'd be providing. What I would recommend for anybody who is trying to do a mandala flow and they want to try a group class, you get assistance or you get really, really sturdy chairs, maybe even up against a wall, so you can actually have more than just 2 people, because the maximum you can get in a mandala flow to make sure you can safely spot people is really just 2, especially if they don't have a lot of upper body strength. So that ability to allow them to go back and forth. And remember, while some people can actually have chairs that can take the armrest down, there are also chairs that they don't have that ability. Really great for people who can actually use that to do various spinal extensions and flexions, and use that for the power to actually help them to stand up. But just know when they have ones like this, they have a tendency to reach back for the chair. If it's unsturdy, best to have it against a wall. So there are lots of abilities to graduate flows to getting even more complex. Leaning, getting that sense, but also building a lot of strength and power to feel a sense of range of movement, exploring with what is stable and what is strong. Once again, that's another focus that we have in Amara Vidya flow. So this gives you an idea of how to create a vinyasa flow. One of the things I've always loved about Shiva Ray and especially Maria Gar is the type of music they will use, the types of cues, the ability to tie in some of the concepts of Dasikachar, who learned from his father. In our training, we use a core book called The Heart of Yoga as a basic guide. Some of those teachings are really great for going back and interpreting them into all vinyasa flows. That ability to remember some of the more traditional teachings of modern postural yoga practice. So if you have any questions, feel free to write me. We'll do a few more experiments of Amara Vidya flow, but I hope you enjoyed this presentation today. Have a great day. Bye.